Hey crystal lovers, Ashley Levy here with the Love and Light School of Crystal Therapy, and I wanted to have a little chat with you about Blue Chalcedony, the healing properties of Blue Chalcedony. Now you might have heard people call this Blue Chalcedony, but in fact the correct pronunciation, I'm told, is Chalcedony. So it's generally a crystal for soothing and comfort. So I want to share with you my favorite piece of Blue Chalcedony, and this is one that I got just a few months ago from a company called Mantra Minerals, and look at how beautiful this is. So these parts here are the matrix or the parent rock or host rock of the mineral, and then this brilliant, dreamy, kind of celestial blue is the Blue Chalcedony. Now, chalcedony is a cryptocrystalline variety of quartz. So most of the quartz we're used to is macrocrystalline, so things like amethyst and clear quartz and smoky quartz and citrine that have the big points. Something that we see generally more as like a chunk, a rough or massive form like rose quartz, that's usually cryptocrystalline, although rarely rose quartz can form terminated crystals. Well, another crystocrystalline quartz is chalcedony, and we usually call it chalcedony when there's no banding or anything like that. Now, usually, there are exceptions, and we call it agate when there are bands or swirls or patterns in it. Again, that's not always, but it's usually. And chalcedony, we usually call chalcedony when it's somewhat translucent. So if I held this up to a really bright light, you would be able to see like a little bit of glow. Obviously, this is a really thick piece, but if you have a thinner piece, like a tumbled stone, see how you can definitely see through that, especially around the edges. That makes it a chalcedony. If it's opaque, then generally we call those jaspers. So it's kind of interesting to see how these all tie in together. But this Blue Chalcedony is one of my favorite crystals, and I think one that doesn't get enough appreciation for how helpful it is. So I always like to have a little affirmation when I'm working with my crystals, and the one that came through for Blue Chalcedony is this: I find peace in my environment, and more importantly, within myself. I think so often we are called to create a sacred space, or to think when, everything in my environment is perfect, then I can relax, then I can feel good, then I can do my healing, then I can focus on my healing. And it's remembering that that healing and that sacred space lives within us that is so important. And that's kind of one of the main energies of Blue Chalcedony that I think is so powerful, right? So Blue Chalcedony is also really useful for helping you focus on group cooperation and communication and harmony. So here's a piece of a rough Blue Chalcedony that has a druzy center. There's a little bit, see that little bit of sparkle? It's that druze center, which is formed of those little tiny crystal points kind of glittering. The other thing that I think is really great about Blue Chalcedony is it's a stone to really help you speak your truth and speak from the heart and speak up even when it's difficult. You have important things to say, we each have a unique lived experience that brings us a specific perspective to the world, and sometimes sharing or voicing that perspective feels overwhelming or challenging or scary, right? But Blue Chalcedony can really help support you through that process of speaking up and saying what needs to be said in order to create positive change. So it's a really powerful crystal to work with to support you through that as well. I have personally found for me that it also helps promote really restful sleep, and it can be worked with for dream work, especially if you combine it with another dream work crystal like Herkimer diamond, amethyst, something like that, and place it on your bedside table. And I have this piece that's a druzy Blue Chalcedony, and it has little apophyllite crystals on it. So these are the apophyllite, and all these little pieces you see are like mini Blue Chalcedony stalactites. See how they kind of grow upward? And that's very common when you have a somewhat more crystalline chalcedony rather than just the massive form that forms like a big chunk. So you can work with these in dream work. And it's always kind of this cornflower blue to sky blue. Here's kind of a deeper colored piece, a little bit more gray blue. And here's one that's a bit brighter. You can see kind of the difference. But always has that nice translucence, especially when it's a really good quality. And sometimes you'll see it with these little flecks of gold, and those are just from the matrix, or sometimes they can be inclusions of an iron-based material from where the crystals are found. Now, Blue Chalcedony connects with the zodiac signs of Aquarius, Pisces, and Libra. So if you're one of those signs, it can really enhance and strengthen the positive attributes of your sign and help to kind of combat the less than glamorous parts of your sign, which we all have. It connects with the elements of air and water, and you can kind of see this, right? If you look at something like this, it looks like you could be looking up at blue sky or down at blue ocean. Either way, so connecting with air and water, so the action aspect, the intuition, reflection aspect, as well as emotional well-being. Its companion flower is one that I actually just saw blooming out in my garden today. It was the first day I opened. It's vinca, which I just learned a few weeks ago is also known as the sorcerer's violet, which is really pretty cool. So vinca blossom, which it kind of shares that periwinkle blue color with. And its companion essential oil is linden blossom. A great companion crystal for Blue Chalcedony is pink fluorite. So the pink fluorite really helps bring a bit of a balancing energy, I think, especially to the communication piece, where sometimes when we need to say what needs to be said, we need to like do that in a place of compassion, coming from compassion. Not that we need to tailor our words and not that we need to tailor our tone, but that sometimes it just helps us see how someone else might take something, especially if it's something that is kind of a critique of another person. It can be really helpful to just put yourself in their shoes and, you know, before you say something that you can't really take back. So it helps with that. Now, when Blue Chalcedony is banded, we would call it blue lace agate, but otherwise same chemical composition, but they come from slightly different localities, so the formation and the geologic process that it undergoes in order to form is just slightly different. Blue lace agate, of course, really lacy banded patterning, really beautiful, and then Blue Chalcedony, just this exquisite solid blue color. So I hope that that is a little bit helpful for you. But one way to work with Blue Chalcedony, which has this almost kind of ethereal energy, is to use it for a connection between yourself and your guides or yourself and your ancestors. Kind of helps allow with that communication that way too, with the other realms. So not just communication in this realm, but communication with your ancestors, your guides, to give you guidance that you might need. And again, really great for the group cooperation and harmony. I find it really helpful for that. Sorry, there's a motorcycle driving by right now, really loud. But yeah, and it has this historical association also in Italy by being used by women post-childbirth to enhance lactation. So because of that, in more modern day, it sometimes has a correspondence or association with like abundance, fertility, nurturing, all those things that we would associate with like parenthood, right? So overall, a super beautiful, little bit underappreciated stone. I love this crystal. Check it out if you are not familiar with it. Blue Chalcedony. I will be sharing this video as well as a really in-depth blog post and a podcast this week. If you're not yet signed up for our newsletters, head over to loveandlightschool.com. You'll see I have some free training right up in the top of the website banner. You can take a little free mini training with me, and then also get my newsletters each week where I'll send you an article, a little video, podcast, all about a different crystal or a way to work with crystals, because I just love to share. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you've ever worked with this crystal in the comments. I would love to hear what your experience has been. If you're looking for Blue Chalcedony, we have pieces just like this at my shop, Mimosa. You can find us at mimosaspirit.com. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until I see you next, crystal blessings.